culture of today and you ask them what it is about pop culture that they like, and the first thing they'll say is the beat.
Get yourself addicted. Get yourself addicted.
Welcome in to the Pop Culture Piledriver. Get addicted to the content. I am Jason Rossi. Can be followed across social media platforms, which don't even fucking bother, because I'm not even on them. At Jason D Rossi. This is almost 2 months strong. I think I gave it up for Lent. Might give it up for 2023. Twitter, I'm on a little bit. And you can follow our little show here at Pop Culture PD. We are not the police, but there's only so many GD characters on the Twitter machine. And with me, as always, my tag team partner in the podcast sphere. He is the man of many names. He's the man, the myth, the legend, looking sharp AF with his kind of like cool late winter look here, even though it is the beginning of spring. This is our first podcast of spring 2023. So spring to you. Go have some sex. He is Billy D. What's going on, man?
Hello. Yeah, great intro. I started watching the show Criminal Minds. I know we'll get to that later.
What are you, 100?
I know, right?
Honestly, we are not going to get to this later. Right now, is something going on personal that we need to speak up? This can turn into a full therapy session.
Somebody recommended it to me.
Who did? Who?
Girl that I was seeing.
Oh, never mind. That's the trump card. I understand now.
But either way, it's not bad.
Let me ask you this. Criminal Minds, is that the show? Somebody says I kind of look like a character from a show, and I think they say Criminal Minds. Like a guy is like,
I'm only keep going.
No, it's like a guy, like ever since I'm wearing glasses, some guy in my work so I'm relatively new to one team, and like, you look like that guy from Criminal Minds. I'm like, are you 150? Who's watching Criminal Minds?
Okay, so there's like one skinny geeky kid that you don't really look like. In the first 2 seasons, there's Mandy Patinkin, who I thought was.
Do I look like Mandy Patinkin? That's awesome. I kind of like it just because he's got an awesome name.
And I'm only in season 2, and I think there's like almost 30 seasons of this.
Yeah, at least, Bill. Let me ask you this: are we watching these on VHS or?
No, it's on Hulu. I was shocked.
Okay. So, bigger question. Lady suggestion. Totally understand. Don't have to really dive deep into it. But here's the let's say the relationship.
This isn't even the current lady. So
this is a previous.
This is a previous.
So I was just going to ask, what if this doesn't work out? Will you continue with Criminal?
If the show's good, I don't care.
What is the show about? And don't say Criminals' Minds.
Legitimately, they're all like profilers, and basically they get called into like a serial killer. Like Keith would fucking love this if he likes whodunits and serial killers. Every episode is like that. It's basically like a Law and Order for serial killers.
Okay, so a little less rape, a little more killing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's another one. People that watch these shows. First of all, like Keith now, father 2, he's not at that level. Bill, there's a certain level you have to reach when you're just like, I'm banging out Criminal Minds. It's like we're not even in the pandemic anymore.
No, it's true.
But you know what? This also is a really interesting thing. Like this is gonna be a little morbid, potentially sad. But there's so much media, and I have my own concerns with this. There's so much to consume. That like I've thought about it. I think in the last, let's just go 10 years, there's going to be more things I will never see, like just never see.
Yeah.
Like than ever in the world. Like when I was younger, I used to watch so much television. I used to be up to date with so many things. Now, like my dad texts our like family group and is like, you guys watching Shrinking on Apple TV? I'm like, fuck no, I don't got time for Shrinking. I'm watching 9,000 hours of wrestling. And I think about that. I'm like, I'll never probably see some of these things. Some of these shows people tell me I'm just never going to watch.
I mean, you can't watch everything. That's kind of the motto of the DSG. And like, there's a million shows too, like Criminal Minds. And after watching Psych and seeing how all the USA shows are carbon copies, and I love Poker Face, I'm sure if I watched any of the other Criminal Minds-esque shows, I would like them. And I don't have the time to like them.
But that's, I think, the thing. It's like, it's such a commitment now, and I feel like where we are in the world today.
That's why I had to stop watching wrestling.
Oh, but that's fair, right? Obviously, listen, to me, I'm like, that's like I think it's almost a non-negotiable. There's moments when I'm like, I'm not going to watch this. There was definitely times over the last, like, maybe 2 years ago. I just didn't watch them Raws, and I'm like, I didn't even miss anything. I feel like I didn't miss anything. Now every time I don't watch it, like even the little like my YouTube algorithm, it's like, oh, I missed something, and that's a good feeling. But no, it's really a good point. There's just so much content, like every single time, every single day, let alone stuff off of television. I'm just talking television, movies. Like there's so. I was watching a movie on Paramount Plus the other day. I'm like, if I didn't stumble upon this, how the hell would I ever know? A movie called
Yeah.
Significant Other, pretty good one. A little kind of like a creature feature ish horror, but not too scary. Has the guy from that last season of The Office, one of the two clown guys, like the funny guys, but he turned into a hunk. Not the one with the glasses. No, the last
No
scene of The
idea.
Office, the one who started dating.
Oh, yeah. Like little geeky kid.
Yeah, but he became like a total
Yeah.
hunk, dude. He's a hunk.
Really?
Man.
That dude?
Oh yeah. Not the glasses guy, not the glasses nerdy guy. The one who was hitting on the girl at the front desk. I can't think of character names. I just call it Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah. I don't know anybody either. That's Erin.
Erin, yeah. So he was
That's when I
hitting.
watched the show. She was on it.
Yeah. So she was on, but like he was hitting on Erin.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. This movie is pretty good. The point is, there's so much GD content, and Criminal Minds will. I don't know if they'll. Like, I wonder if Heaven has just there's like a TV branch. And just like,
Oh, hell yeah.
hey, before you get in here, like you have an option. Come on into Heaven, go see your relatives, do whatever you need to do,
No.
or go spend the next you have forever. Remember this, Bill. You have forever, unless you want to believe in reincarnation. Do that too. Go be a tree, or you can go to this other branch of Heaven, where you just watch all the TV shows you missed.
No, because sometimes I don't even want to watch TV when I'm like alive and here. Like,
I know, but what if you could and you had all the time?
I'll go on like the second or third day after I see everybody.
But what if they said, Bill, I will allow you're coming to Heaven. We got you. You did good enough. Just pass. Barely. Got it though. St. Anthony said, we got you. And they open up those pearly gates, but they say right over here is the TV. We'll call it TV land. And you get to go over there and you get to watch all of it, but time doesn't pass. Your relatives know you're there. They're happy and they're excited because they all went there too. You know what, Bill? Your fill in the blank great-great-grandfather actually just finished Criminal Minds recently. We know you were watching that back in 2023, and then before you stopped watching, we have 30 seasons for you to watch. How about Grey's Anatomy? Never saw that. Did you hear good things? Did you ever? Well, we have a wing over there. But what if you could watch with them? What if you could bring one member in? You could chat it up. Imagine there's like a little heaven for just television. It's got to be out there. There's got to be an option. Like you and Abe Lincoln watching Criminal Minds. How sick would that be?
This is the dumbest thing.
Oh, you think Abe Lincoln went to hell? Oh, you're one of those guys. Okay.
I am.
All right, we'll get into the show now. All right, so today we will be discussing our favorite WrestleMania matches over the 38 events of the Showcase of the Immortals. You could have some of these names have been etched in the stones of time. I don't know if that's really the line. I feel like they lost all those. It's just really the Showcase of the Immortals now, I feel like.
Yeah, they had a bunch when they were doing like those WWE Network like actual shows. They had like 20 different names for
Showcase of the Immortals.
The greatest show on earth, right? Is that?
Yeah, there was a couple of them. No, I think that's the Rockettes.
That's the circus.
Oh yeah, circus. Well, that's gone, so you can take it. There's no more circus. But yeah, there was a bunch of them, and I remember it used to be like, get your name etched in like the annals of time, etched in the annals of time. I know that was a line from it, like WrestleMania gets your name etched in the annals of time. I don't have stats here for you, and I like to be maybe we could do a stat that or a statty bills, but there has to be over. I'm just gonna throw out a random number. But I'm gonna say over 400 WrestleMania matches.
All right.
Because 38 events. Recently, WrestleManias are averaging somewhere in like the 14 range. Some of them average 8. There was that WrestleMania that had like 16 matches because of the tournament. So I'm going to say there's been 400 matches. Out of all those, we are going to narrow it down to our favorites. We're going to say maybe we could call it the old bucket list WrestleMania matches. WrestleMania matches you must watch before you go up to the pearly gates to watch all the other WrestleMania matches you didn't have time to in that branch that we just described in heaven. So, God, if you don't have that, get on it, big man. We love you. Big ups to Jesus. We're a big religious show, too. So, there again, 38 events. Bill, I just thought about this. You've never been to an actual WrestleMania, have you?
No. When I was here for the 14,
yeah,
it was too poor.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Nah, I don't know why I didn't go to that one. That was in that weird period where WrestleMania 14 brought me back into wrestling. So we lost free cable somewhere in that like 97 range, and for some reason that like took me out of wrestling during literally the craziest time I think in wrestling history.
Raw was the only thing that you could really watch for it.
Yeah, and I don't know why I like got turned off from. There was some weird times there. I don't know what was going on when I was like 12 and a half to 13, but I feel like I would have loved it. And I also was the weirdest fan. I feel like I didn't take enough advantage of the Monday Night Wars. I just watched like the first hour of WCW, then watched Raw.
I mean, I would watch the first hour, and then what I would do when it was the final hour, I would flip back and forth in the commercial breaks. And then I think Nitro always went a little longer too.
Yes, then finally
And then Raw caught
WWE
up,
started doing that. And but I'll tell you, I never did it. I never went back to WCW. So like I missed all like the good stuff. The first hour was mostly like
No, the first
luchas.
hour was the best wrestling. Though.
Yeah, because it was like I used to see like almost every Dean Malenko match, every Jericho, like Disco
Eddie
Inferno was on a
Guerrero,
lot of
yep.
that. And I watched Saturday Night, which was my like favorite wrestling show because it was 1 hour. But anyways, so again, all these years of WrestleMania. So I've been to 32, 33, 34, 35. So I've been to 4, going to my fifth, Bill, made it happen, going to LA. I still think for you, it's a Rumble, right? We got to go to a Rumble.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
So I think all my work events, I might try to, I forget where SummerSlam is, but maybe we can go down to that just because I'm going to work all my trips around work and wrestling. I've decided. But with all this being said, when it comes to like what makes a wrestling match your favorite, our favorite, anybody's favorite, it's all personal, right? So we'll kind of get into the details of that with this list. This list is going to range somewhere, like we said, probably 400 matches. We're probably going to discuss less than 30 and in detail, maybe less than 15.
I'm trying to find the number. You figured somebody would have had it, but every which way I Google it, you can't find it.
Well, I'm looking. Yeah, it's got to be hard. How many my guess, if we include pre-show, because there was, I still think WrestleMania, I want to say even 17 only had 8 matches, which is like known as like the best WrestleMania. I want to say 19 may have only had 8 matches. And like the early going WrestleManias had, like,
Some
they were
of
like 2
them
hour
had
events.
like no. Some of them had like the tournament one had a shitload of matches.
Well, that was the longest because we also, in our history, there was a time when I think we were going to WrestleMania. I think it was a year leading to 21. We were at our friend Blake's and we would watch. We banged through every WrestleMania over like a 2.5 month time span. Every Friday and Saturday, we'd start at a certain time and just go, eating a lot of fast food. And but yeah, that was. I do remember running through. I think it was for 21 because I think the box had the X, like the 20 logo on it. And that was like when that box set came out. So we don't have to go in any particular order here, but we have a pretty solid list of ones we believe are the must watch. For me, I'm going to kick off with the probably most famous WrestleMania, the WrestleMania that some say is the greatest WrestleMania. I think we actually ranked WrestleMania as this came in our number 2, not our number 1. Hot take city. But in we're talking about WrestleMania 17 from 2001. No, we're not talking about the main event. No, we're not talking about some of the most spectacular matches. We're talking Triple H versus The Undertaker.
Yeah,
To
you
me,
love this match.
This is one of my favorite matches of all time. Simply put, no feud, no overstory, just 2 guys that are over as hell. Some of my favorite wrestling matches, they just were like, put them together, put them in the biggest show, and they went all around the arena.
Yeah, that was the best part about this one because Triple H will sell like nobody's business.
They went everywhere, up on like a stand, and it wasn't like what I feel like wrestling has become. We kind of know, oh, that's going to be that like hardcore match. Like it was just like I think it was just a no holds barred match between the two, just a like go out and get it. And now I'm not going to sit here and be naive enough to say they stole the show, but they stole my attention. And now it's really hard to do on a card like that when you have the TLC 2 with the Dudleys, Hardys, and Edge and Christian. You have Stone Cold and The Rock. You have Shane and Vince. You have the Gimmick Battle Royal. You just have all these like landmark events that people look at and why that event was so big. But this one, literally just from the go, these two are just literally giving everything they got. And this is American Badass Undertaker, so it's more like I just thought this was the height of that gimmick because he, Undertaker is the best character of all time. I don't think there's much argument.
Hands
at this
down.
point. But
Character.
Yes, in this role though, when he was the American Badass, like I feel like he was just more like, dare I say, like entertaining. If that's the right way to look at it. He was just, I don't know. It was just fun to watch. He was a badass. And this match went from pillar to post all over the place. Also using the last ride as this finisher, which I always thought was kick-ass. And Triple H always made it look good because he pulled the tights up and you always revealed that Triple H was wearing like 2 panties, as I like to call it. It was just an awesome event. And it was when Triple H went to hit him with the sledgehammer. And that's when he pulled it off, hits him with it. Awesome match, goes all around the Houston Astrodome. Must watch. WrestleMania 17. Triple H, Undertaker.
Yeah, they fought 2 other WrestleManias, right? And those aren't
Yes.
memorable at all.
Well, I would. So 27, I don't think, even though some people still talk highly about that, the build was more memorable. But 28 was the end of an era, and that's that one with Shawn Michaels, and it had I think maybe the most epic kick out in the history of wrestling when Shawn Michaels super kicks the Undertaker into Triple H for the pedigree, and he kicks out. Like, that's when I'm like, they're never ending the streak.
And a little bit later they would.
Stuff happens. But all right, so that will be one of our must watches. Next one here, we're going to call this the Bret Hart category. If he was only in more WrestleManias, he'd be on more. But Bret Hart, Owen Hart, we talked about this in our top 11 opening matches at WrestleMania. Go back in the archives to hear that. But this is a masterclass of wrestling.
Yeah, it's 2 brothers doing what they do best. 2 of the people. I always thought Owen was a little sloppy for my taste in the ring. He was a little bit of a loose cannon of what he did to, was it Stone Cold for
Yes.
right in the middle of the run. So, but this match was beautifully wrestled. Obviously, they were brothers, grew up in the dungeon. We had it pretty high up, I think, on the all-time opening matches. So
I think it was 2.
Yeah. Is this a Meltzer 5?
So, you know what? I'm going to double check that. I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
And the only thing about this match that kind of made, like, I hated this WrestleMania just because
how dare you?
I thought the tournament was like the dumbest idea ever. And I was like, well, he has to fight somebody else. And at this point in my life, I didn't realize how good of a match I was watching. I was just like, it's going to be like deflating if Bret Hart doesn't win tonight with this dumb rule. Cause like I was into it at that point where this was like my life.
Oh, 100%. No, I think it's like 4.5. For whatever reason. I also think like it's so well executed at the end how Owen Hart wins by just like sitting down when Bret's trying to reverse him.
That was the other thing. I was fucking pissed.
Oh yeah, no, I was pissed too, and I just think like now being like an older fan, like this is the ultimate like.
That's great storytelling.
Great storytelling.
That's
great
the Seth
booking.
Rollins cash-in moment. He loses to Randy Orton on a great reversal and then goes out and wins it. Fuck, did I wonder? I never actually put that together.
Yeah, 21 years apart. It's just so well done because Owen obviously really needs the win in this moment. And it's a match that does nothing to harm Bret Hart. Obviously, later in the night, aside from Yokozuna slipping on a banana peel, that's the real reason he won. But like, it is so well done throughout the entire match. Like, Bret still doesn't want this to be the reason. And there's that great moment when he kind of points at him, like, and I can't tell still to this moment. And when you rewatch this match, like, he pulls his hair, like Owen pulls Bret's hair, and he kind of whacks his hand. He kind of like gives him like this, like don't. And it's almost like, is that real? Is that like a moment where he's kind of like, hey man, like we don't do that. But and obviously Owen like just never really like now obviously God rest his soul, but like people I don't think we ever really appreciate how really good this guy was in the ring. Like so good.
He was a very dynamic guy, but honestly, when I watched him, he was not as mechanically technically sound as I think Bret.
Well, no, but I think what you're like he balanced that early like level of high flyer, so there's like a little bit of like he wasn't like there's no botching in his game, but it was just like a little almost more real looking. Where Bret, it was just like honestly, it's like watching like the best NBA players play. Tom Brady play quarterback. It's just like pristine. Bret was pristine.
He was like Kevin McHale, where like what's his name was more like John Morant. That's a good, very stark contrast.
There you go. That's exactly the analogies you only get on the Pop Culture Piledriver. Next up will be from WrestleMania 13, arguably the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Question mark, exclamation point, poop emoji. Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin in the famous double turn. And again, everything that we just said about
incidental
Owen and Bret,
double turn though.
Yeah, see that's the thing. If you watch this match, Bret isn't a heel until like after, but it's almost like I wonder, and I know he talks a lot.
That's the double turn though.
Yeah,
but like they didn't realize they were going to make Austin this unbelievable baby face from it. They thought they were making him, a good guy.
Yeah, like I think, and the thing is like, well, he's like never a good, like he is. It's weird. Austin never was a babyface nor a good guy, but by definition, he
He
was
was the
a fan
anti-hero, and
favorite.
that's what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
created in that moment.
And they really did because him bleeding out, like obviously I get why they did. You protect your heels just as much as your faces in certain ways. You never really want them to tap out, or especially like a character like Stone Cold, where I think at this point they were like, we're right on the precipice of having something. And even if they didn't think he would be what he like winning the title the next year and becoming the biggest draw in the company at the time, like masterfully done. Like Bret Hart doesn't get enough credit for the Stone Cold stuff because really think about it. Bret Hart leaves after 12.
Mhm.
Though he comes back to feud with Stone Cold because Stone Cold wants to fight him. They have a great match at Survivor Series.
I think that
Bret,
one's better, but yeah.
fair. Bret Hart then wants to come out and should have won. Technically did win the Royal Rumble, and then Stone Cold wins by some sort of bullcrap retold history. And then you have this match they set up, which imagine this for the title. If this was for the title, good Lord. But they go this route where, Bret and Stone Cold, and again, it's a submission match, and Stone Cold kind of dropped the whole, what was it, the $1 Million Dream? Was that the name of his move when he was the ringmaster?
Yeah.
When he like choked him out? And like that's gone. So he's like, I don't even have one of those. I'm just gonna beat you down. And that almost opens that door to like why he bleeds, because he's just trying to brawl Bret to the ground. Ken Shamrock is the referee. There's just so much in this match, so many elements, and if you like, it's so watchable at any time. It's so good. Also, I think it's the last WrestleMania with the old logo, so literally watching this is so much nostalgia. Like the ring looks good, everything's old school. It's the red, white, and blue. And again, Ken Shamrock at the time, that's almost a year later they get Tyson, and obviously Tyson's much bigger, but like that was a big deal to get Ken Shamrock at the time, and I think maybe one of the biggest missed opportunities from the company with Shamrock.
I can see that.
So he ends up attacking him, and Bret becomes a heel, like oddly, and then Stone Cold's a beloved face, and we go on from there, which obviously turns the hands of time, and the Stone Cold rise is in full force. Next up here, Bill, we have another opening match. I believe this got our number one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H, Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30.
Yeah, same kind of thing, except he has to like win this to get the chance at it. So it's a little bit different than the booking of Rollins and Bret Hart. But, we both really love Daniel Bryan and what he does in the ring. And we talked about it a little bit with the Undertaker part. There's no one who's going to put you over in the ring more with the way that he sells than Triple H. He can also, Shawn Michaels, and flop around like he did in the Hogan match every once in a while and oversell. But I think we can all agree he really got this kid. I mean, he was already the most over thing maybe ever in wrestling at that point, but it really made the setup for later in the night awesome.
Yeah, and I think one thing also that like needs to be credited to this is storyline. There's way too much wrestling content in television now. So sometimes when you just look at the event in a whole, what makes it great, like this is what makes WrestleMania 30 great. This match here, forget about what took to get Bryan into this whole situation. This match is so goddamn good.
Mm-hmm.
Like Triple H, he stepped in, like the story is that he comes into this to say, I'm going to make sure you don't get there, and I'm actually going to take the title from Randy Orton. That's like the story here. It's like, not only are you not going to get into that match, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to make sure you don't get in. I'm going to get in, and then I'm going to win the title. So there's like all these elements of like, in WWE at this time, like this is the first one on the network. A lot of people want to cancel the subscriptions when Daniel Bryan not only didn't win the Rumble, wasn't even in the Rumble on their first ever event. Like, so people are like, we're just going to boycott this network that's coming out. We're not buying it. Nobody's doing it. So they had to do something. And I feel like this was that a little bit of trickery, a little Vince-ism in it, where it's like, if we just give them a little bit of like doubt, because a part of me was like, what if they just say, F it. We already have you on. You're watching this big event. Triple H wins. And Triple H has an epic entrance with that whole, with Charlotte, Alexa, and Sasha. We didn't know at the time, but like, and then that King of Kings, he's just, everything's awesome. The match is so well done. And Daniel Bryan coming from behind is that underdog win to begin the night and then obviously end the night. But this match itself is so good.
Yeah, it's an all-timer, and I think that's why I'll have to go back, but I'm pretty sure you're right. It's up there. This was the one that when you put it on your list that we're kind of working off here,
yeah,
I remembered it, and I was like, oh, damn, I forgot about that one. Mick Foley, Edge, that's a great match.
This match, WrestleMania 22, one of the most bizarre cards in WrestleMania history. You can take a peek at your own time. This is when Undertaker, versus Mark Henry in a casket match. And allegedly, The Undertaker was like, yeah, take it, Henry. Take my streak. Mark Henry at 22? Like, insane. But this match itself is, I think now looking back, you have to remember, this is post cash-in.
Yeah.
So the cash-in already happened at the beginning of the year. Cena won the title back. Cena at 22, that is Shawn Mike. No, 23. 22 is Triple H. Fine match, nothing over the top spectacular. But like Edge potentially should have been in that. And they had to find something because Edge was red hot as a heel, like a cool heel,
And
had
I
the
think-
live sex.
Oh, 100%. And I think they needed this. I mean, I never thought they did, but it did kind of make him a little bit crazier because I think everybody was like, his gimmick is a pretty boy.
Yes.
I was never really on the fence of like, oh, this guy doesn't have like the toughness in him. But just to go out and have a legit hardcore match with Foley, I think it sold it to the people who weren't necessarily sold on Edge.
And this is just one of those spectacular matches. Thumbtacks. Lita gets involved with thumbtacks. There's Mr. Socko Toledo with thumbtacks. Insane. Like spectacular. Obviously, the burning table that
yeah.
Edge spears Foley through, which is just an incredible spot and so well executed. We talk about WWE and their production being incredible, but like I've seen other burning table spots, specifically Cody Rhodes, Andrade, or whatever, Elidolo over in AEW, where you could see Cody had like some sort of like stuff on him to like mask the burning, even though he still got burnt worse. But like it just didn't look as smooth, for lack of a better term. But like this looks so good. Like that table goes out on time. They still do like the fire extinguishers. It's awesome. And obviously Edge going over on a returning Mick Foley, pulling him out of retirement for this, getting the best of Mick Foley. Like this is probably one of the last real, like he ends up having a little feud with Randy Orton and then Ric Flair later. But like this is an incredible match. And again, the spectacle of it. And it feels big. This looks like the moment where you just said he's no longer the pretty boy. This is where he like graduated, if you would, to like true, you can win a championship, doesn't make you a main eventer. This made him an absolute main eventer. So that's again from WrestleMania 22. I think my phone just died. Nope, it didn't. Next up on the list is the first women's introduction into this, into the best matches, which not a lot of women representation, not due to any disrespect, just not a lot of like, what are we going, Alundra Blaze, Akuna Kana, whatever it was from WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's only really been around for, I don't know, big time, 10 years.
Yeah.
Like of like levels like, this.
Yeah,
the Charlotte, Becky, the Trish, and Trish will maybe make an appearance later too. But and they have less matches on the card. At most, they have 3.
Yes, and this was the return of the women's title match at WrestleMania 32. I think the match that stole the show: Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the return. And Lita also ambiance. Like if you watch the whole segment, Lita comes out and debuts the new WWE Women's Championship.
Yeah, that's great.
Getting rid of the divas, like total move in shifting in the seas of women's wrestling, and then you have Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky. I think just put on an absolute masterclass there for like 12 minutes.
And Charlotte was really, really good in this match. And this is one of the events like the Royal Rumble where your friends will watch, you don't necessarily always watch. And I had a bunch of people the next day being like, "Wow, is that really Flair's kid? She's pretty good."
This is, I think, the first time we saw, at least on the main roster, the moonsault to the outside.
From the top.
From the top. It's just silly. She still does it to this day. We can go back in our archive for best wrestlers of the decade. Charlotte was our number one. And this is the major reason. She puts on the best big matches. There's big match John. It's really big match Charlotte. She is so good in massive spots. There has been some depreciation, I think, to that in these latter portions, but I think also due to creative and lack of like understanding she's as big of a star as you have. So let's cater to that a little bit. Like I'm almost at the point where Charlotte should be Brock Lesnar of the women's division. Like bring her out when you need her and make sure it's important and either putting somebody else over or making her as dominant. But Becky and Sasha, like it does not get better than this. And I'm never a big fan of triple threats. I'm just still to this day not, because I like the one-on-one feel, but this just felt deserving. This before Bayley made her debut in the main roster. Almost like kind of feels left out a little bit. Like if Bailey was in this, could it even be better?
Oh
Don't
yeah,
know.
because they had great matches down there as well, and usually Bailey brings up the best out of Charlotte. But this just goes to show you, up until this point, and pretty much the rest of the list, keep the gimmicks for the most part out of my WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because you'll see there's a little bit of it to come, but this one, like, and again, it's the spectacle. And again, Charlotte goes over here, wins the championship. It's just such a moment. Rick on the outside. He may have kissed Becky Lynch during this match, or that might have been at the Rumble. He's always smooching ladies. But that is just such an amazing, amazing match. This one we don't have to get too deep into, Bill. TLC 2 at
Going against
WrestleMania.
what I just said, but yes, this was
I know. Well,
this
no,
was
I
the
don't think.
second one, right? This was
Yes. So it's the third technical match between the three. So they fought at WrestleMania 2000, which is I think one of your favorites. Which that actually might be better for this specific because this was obvious, right? TLC 2 being one of of course, but it was they had I think it was just called the Triangle Ladder match at WrestleMania 2000. Dudley's, Hardy's, Edge, and Christian. Then at SummerSlam they had what was known as a TLC match. Then here at WrestleMania TLC 2. The reason this one is it's so much more than just it's not 6 people involved. It's 9 people. You have Rhino, Spike Dudley, and Lita. And I don't care what anybody says. One of the sexiest and most insane things I've ever seen is when Lita does something. Hurricane Rana, I want to say to Spike Dudley, takes the top off in her bra, and I believe she's spared by Rhino right after that, which is incredible.
Spike Dudley he's a literal crash test dummy whenever he was out there, but this match was he was like human, like pinball.
Yes. I give the guy a lot of credit. There's also a great clip somewhere on YouTube. If you look it up, he looks a lot different, a lot thicker now, which probably should have been thicker then. But La Resistance tried to throw him through a table, and they missed, but short, and he just clacks the back of his head. And he talks about he's like, I wasn't concussed, I was fine, but everyone thought I was, so I just kind of went with it. And I got a couple weeks off. It's kind of funny, but just this guy put his faith in these performers' hands, and all of them took such good care of each other. And this one has the most crazy bumps. The famous Edge spear Jeff Hardy while he's holding the belts.
They both got concussions.
Totally dangerous. Well, I guess they didn't though, but allegedly, I don't know what the hell really happened. But
they both said they were knocked out. At least Edge definitely was from the spear.
I'm sure. How do you take that safely? You're jumping off a ladder, but not like a cross body, diving to catch and tackle someone who's holding on to 2 rings basically, and then just dropping 17 feet.
Yeah.
Just stupid. There's a really high was up from Devon Dudley doing a headbutt off the top of a ladder. These guys just stupid. And I think Edge and Christian win all these matches, which is just in the sidebar. But again, complete one of those this is right up there with Hell in a Cell if you're just gonna tell watch a non-wrestling fan watch a match. Next up here, I know we talked. Now we're kind of going into these spectacles. I put Pat McAfee, Austin Theory from WrestleMania 38.
I mean, just for the pure him being kind of a shock the world moment situation, because I think we all were expecting a little something, but he was really good.
He was amazing. The backflip off the top rope, landing on his feet, incredible. And the reason I go, it's the whole segment too. He beats Austin Theory. Freaking Vince McMahon comes out, pops the top, goes and beats Pat McAfee by punting a ball horribly at him. Glass shatters. Stone Cold comes out. This is 23 minutes of what is happening. This is old school because Stone Cold already returned the night before. We kind of thought, but I remember when Vince came out, I was sitting in my couch and I was like, I think Stone Cold's gonna come out here. They gotta do if Vince ain't going over, and this is a thing. Vince also beat Pat McAfee for some reason. But just the whole thing. It's must watch. Crazy cuckoo television. You got McAfee doing crazy things with Austin Theory, future star. Vince McMahon comes out before he gets disgraced, wins a match, gets stunned by Stone Cold, and maybe the worst stunner of all time.
Yeah.
I think Linda took it better 20 years earlier. But it's just fun. They're drinking. He stuns Pat McAfee. The crowd's electric throughout the whole entire event. Totally puts the crowd over, re-engaging at that WrestleMania audience. Something I hope we see moving forward with these 2 nights.
And just real quickly, I think the WrestleMania before, Bad Bunny, pretty good showing too.
Bad Bunny was excellent. Bad Bunny was great. That was with Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison. And yes, Morrison did it, but he gave him a Canadian Destroyer or a Sunset Flip, whatever those. I think it's Canadian Destroyer.
It was cool to see him do it too because he's a fan his entire life, and maybe McAfee was too. But
Yeah.
I think the way he took to like water like with it was because he was probably doing these moves as a child.
Oh, agreed. And these guys, and like I think to give Bad Bunny, and also like Logan Paul, who's did it last
Oh
year
my
as well.
god.
But I'm gonna give Bad Bunny the most credit out of all these for this reason. Like with all due respect to these other guys, not saying they're not megastars. Bad Bunny is like next level megastar.
Yeah, he's a
Like
worldwide star.
worldwide, huge, massive. I get like Logan Paul. Trust me, I got some primes in my fridge. I'm all in. I'm a mark. But Bad Bunny is like I guess I should say
He's
but, like,
Michael Jackson, and he just hasn't taken off completely for the entire like America. Like
I would never
he's
disrespect him by calling him Michael Jackson, but yes, I know
but
what you mean.
he has the popularity of him, except slightly less in the U.S. But it'll get there once
But
he
he's
gets a
still
little
like
bit more popular.
massive fame,
Yeah, he's the
massive
biggest
fame.
thing in the. He's probably the
One
biggest
of the
performer
biggest
in the
pop
world.
stars, right? Like in the
Yeah.
world. And this guy took time out, and yes, it was the pandemic, but like to do this match, like he wanted to do this. This is something for him, and you don't get that enough in wrestling. Like people want like. Cardi B, I've heard for years, says she wants to be in a match, wants to do this, but guess what? Never can making the commitment, and probably can't, maybe physically the same. The Rock isn't even coming back to do wrestling matches, and he was a wrestler. Bad Bunny, who is as I would say as popular, maybe worldwide as The Rock, or maybe that's a little below that, like
I would say he's
close.
more.
The Rock is like,
I bet you if we go by Instagram followers, Bad Bunny has more.
oh, let's see that. I'm very interested actually. Because Instagram, you would think leans younger, so I think I agree with you, but I'm still be intrigued.
See, the
This is
Rock
very fascinating.
has about
$1 billion,
370 million.
370. Oh, I don't know. Bad Bunny. The
Instagram.
Utes, Bill.
See, what do you think?
I'm
Give
gonna
me a
say he has more.
Oh no, this is a fucking fan shitload. Does he have
That's how you do
Instagram?
it. Maybe, yeah, he's got to. He's young.
No,
He might be.
I gotta look up the official.
Yeah, he's probably uses like a Spanish name. I hate to say it that way, but it's like because everybody probably grabbed Bad Bunny even before. That's just like a term.
I can't fucking. His PR account has 45 million.
So maybe he doesn't, but nonetheless, the man's massive. So credit to Bad Bunny again. Celebrities getting involved. While you look that up, I'll segue into I think what we would both agree. We'll pick up the pace here. Maybe our favorite combined WrestleMania match from maybe the greatest WrestleMania no one thinks of, and I think we had this in our number one, WrestleMania 19. Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho. This, it's hard to put into words. Like,
by the way, real quick, he has 44 million, so The Rock's got.
There's no way he only has 44 million. There's no way that can't something
says.
That's the actual Bad Bunny.
Yeah,
44 million.
That's what this says. I don't believe it.
Who's this? Is he on his actual account?
It looks like he might have deleted it. I don't know.
Oh, maybe did somebody say something bad about him? Is he one of those guys, or just maybe he never really had it? Maybe you're right. Anyways, but yeah, Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho just lit the world on fire.
This is my favorite one.
Same.
Period.
I remember watching this live. I'm trying to think. Was this pre? Yeah, this is before we had really known we weren't watching WrestleManias together. I don't believe.
Yeah.
So this match, I remember because also the vibe of it too. This just hit. So this is in Seattle, Safeco Field, and it's just started to get dark. So they really the lights, the interior ring lights were really on this ring. This looks like
Canada that didn't work.
Yeah. Oh God, Shawn Michaels. Just like, God damn it. Oh no, we've all been there, Sean. We've all been there. A little blue chew, but. The way this match is lit, the way these two play, I don't want to say old school wrestling because this is this is going to be 20 years ago. It's insane. This is 20 years ago. But Shawn Michaels in his return, and this was the match, and Jericho's talked about it, Shawn, him and Triple H did a brawl at the previous SummerSlam, and he thought that was a one-time, we'll call it. Then he wins the title, and he goes on this little run. It was all cute, but then this was the match he was looking for, where it is just a wrestling match. He's in the old tights that we didn't really see often from Shawn Michaels.
No. He wore the stupid friggin'
the chaps.
The chaps that were terrible. But yeah, he looked kind of like the old Shawn Michaels. He had a weird like Dutch boy haircut, but other than that, he kind of still had the almost the physique of the old Michaels. He had it
He
a
did.
little bit in the Triple H one, a little bit here, and then from there out, he kind of lost. Like when we were a kid, he had a monster chest that would hang over
Yes.
his stomach, and as he got older, obviously, chest and gut all in a line. But he wrestled this match beautifully, back and forth, classic storytelling. Good. It wasn't as good as the build up to some of their other feuds where more stuff got involved. This was kind of just like, I want to wrestle you because you're really good. They might have had a little story going into it, but nothing crazy.
Chris Jericho was like, "You're my favorite of all time.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
all
it
I
was-
wanted to do was be you." And it was like, "You're a fanboy." And then he kind of like poked him, and he's like, "If you're
Mhm.
coming out, like, come for me. Like, I want you at WrestleMania." It was like he like pulled Shawn Michaels to do it. So
But like just the fluidity of this
Mhm.
match is next level, super clean, super crisp, in and out of the ring, on the apron, wherever. And growing up, I loved Shawn Michaels, and when he went away, Chris Jericho was like the closest thing to it. So to see them kind of going at it, even like the post match stuff's pretty good too.
Oh, with the kick in the balls.
Mm.
This is like when AJ and Nakamura tried to steal years later, which that match should have been on this list, but just didn't live up. So obviously, clearly wouldn't be. But these two, it really is. It's just like Shawn Michaels returning to his next level prime. I don't know how to say it. Almost like second act prime.
Second prime, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't get that a lot with wrestlers. And Jericho hitting that prime, hitting that you are no longer like you have to remember. He comes to WWE. He is in like the China feud, the Intercontinental.
Mhm.
He's always kind of obviously debuts against The Rock, has a promo against The Undertaker, gets a lot of heat, kind of stirring things up, must watch every week, then goes into all these various feuds, wins the title, loses the title at the previous year's WrestleMania, kind of goes up and down with some stories. And then this was like, I need a landmark match, and he knocked it out of the park. I think Jericho has might still go down, in my opinion, as the greatest wrestler to me of this generation, if not of all time, because of his reinvention and always finding a way to be on top and like always on television. I know Ric Flair, people can tell me and fight with me.
Sandbagged AJ Styles at the WrestleMania 32.
Oh god, that's still a good match. Like he has a ton of these in his career, but this one is special. This is like a true like younger upstart, even though Jericho's probably 10 years into his career, but like feels like a special match. The vibe of it, I tell you, the coloring, like there's something special. I know it's weird, but just when you watch this match, the way the lights change,
like having the sun set on it, and I think they have some like red lighting stretching back into the crowd because it's a super open area and arena. But this is my favorite WrestleMania match, period.
yes.
So
You have to watch this one. Like we both would say, out of everything we're saying, these are all the must watches of like your lifetime. But this is like if you only have time for like 20 minutes, this is it. And I'm probably gonna watch this one tonight. To go through the rest here, the Firefly Funhouse from WrestleMania 36.
Brilliant.
Just obviously clearly not really a match, but for what the time we had, and we talked about this in the archives, you can listen to our post WrestleMania 36 review. Like, what a show that they put on 2 nights. Like it
in a
really
pandemic, they did it perfectly.
Not just in a pandemic, still early stages of pandemic.
Oh
We're
yeah,
like
I mean,
6
it
weeks,
happened
4
in
weeks
March.
Yeah,
and this was what, early mid-April.
I think it was the second week of April, like April 7th or something. And this is honestly like I still think the best thing WWE has ever done in its entire history. No one else could pull what they did off here. And I give John Cena. I love Bray Wyatt. I love the creativity, but John Cena to say I'm in, like. Think about how stupid this idea kind of is when you think about it. And someone like John Cena, who is like the face of this company for all these years, to be like, yeah, just kind of disgrace my character, embarrass me, make me look foolish, and I go away. He did this for Bray.
I've said this for years, and I still think it holds true and stands. The WWE has the best stuff in the industry, period, for production, shooting, directing, graphics, and editing. Their editing, I steal all of my montage ideas from them. And this thing was put together so well, so perfectly told. They were missing everything but the storylines for a while. And I think they're finally starting to get that part back together a little bit. But this is a first-rate, first-class production in just like a career storytelling. And in like a creative way, like you said, like that was kind of, it was purposely unflattering and not like over the top or anything, but it was super creative.
I actually sometimes watch and go, I can't believe this happened, and then I also say to myself, I can't believe we haven't seen more of this.
Yeah. Well,
It's equally embarrassing. I mean, equally frustrating as it is amazing. It's some people say it's like the greatest thing that ever happened in wrestling. Some people say it's the worst thing. So that's what makes it even more compelling. For another match, Sasha versus Bianca Belair, WrestleMania 37,
fun.
the first ever women's WrestleMania main event, and it is fun. It is a great story. Sasha is a mean heel, cool colored outfit, the blue and the turquoise, and it just looks like $1,000,000, looks like a star. Sasha Banks, I miss so much. I know she's doing her thing with like New Japan right now, but like I miss her so much being on this big, massive stage because when she turns it on, like her look, she looks like a star. She's compelling as hell. And Bianca Belair has almost taken that seat a little bit in WWE and has taken on this like EST moniker, and she has become like almost like a Miss WrestleMania. Her matches, her versus Becky last year was outstanding, but this match is the whip heard round the world. That moment alone is so good. Bianca's hair has been a thing since she was in NXT.
Yeah.
And it's never really been more than just like it's just a look, right? But when she whips Sasha Banks at the climax of this match, that might still like imagine that pain.
And I think the thing for the both of them, but especially you can see it more recently, obviously in Bianca, is you could tell how excited, proud, and emotional they were when they were in the match and when they won the match.
In the opening too, they're both crying. While the crowd, like they announce it, because again, and just the levels on it too. Not only the first women main event, the first time two African American women
have probably ever
I think
main event anything,
and wrestled each other in a spotlight match. I'm not saying two African American women has wrestled in matches, but like in a big event, let alone WrestleMania where the world is watching. And just again put it on, and then yes, you mentioned it. She gets whipped, bloody abdomen on the outside afterwards, smiling and laughing. And it almost plays to the whole thing. Like she's an evil heel. All she wants is the title. It's all about her. She wants to be the best Sasha Banks, but like losing that match, it's almost like it's almost like I incorporate the story of like her laughing is like, you did everything you could to be me and you did it. Like good on you.
Like the Joker.
Yes. Like credit to you when he's upside down, just laughing.
The next one here, by the way,
what? No, I'll be like completely. Triple H Sting WrestleMania 31 is absolutely on there.
No.
This is a spectacle like you haven't seen.
It's stupid.
It's maybe the most.
It was so
controversial,
awful. Like when those old guys rolled their bones out, and they stomped out what was the bigger guy. Like DX.
There was no reason Triple H won this match.
It was because and this is so weird too, because we talk about him putting over certain guys and making them look like $1,000,000 in The Undertaker and Daniel Bryan. And then sometimes it's just the, what's the thing? And the Triple H came out and hit me with pedigree. Like he's sometimes Charlotte the Shoveler. And Sting was bigger than him. Sting was way bigger than him. Like so much bigger than him. He was bigger than never DX in the WWE. With just him.
Yeah. Sting was never in WWE. All this match needed, honestly, like to make it like Sting just wins.
No contest.
No, Sting just wins. Just wins.
Oh yes, that would be great.
I like the pomp and circumstance. DX comes out, then the NWO comes out. X-Pac taking off a shirt. Shawn Michaels super kicks him. All that. The sledgehammer to the head ends up beating. He has that crazy bruise, by the way, that Triple H got from falling off the side of the ring. Like, how did that happen? It's so bizarre.
I will just say it one more time though. Sting was bigger than Triple H.
What in the annals? In the
annals of time, Sting was bigger, and when I was like, oh Jesus, and it was just like Triple H had good matches after this. This was not a good match.
No, and here's want to know something funny, Bill? As we're recording this, Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023, tonight Sting fought on AEW.
Jesus Christ!
Just know that, and this match was 8 years ago. 8 years ago, Sting fought,
and he probably hadn't fought in 8 years.
It was like a 6-man tag. Next up, another spectacle match: Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn from last year's WrestleMania 38.
Sami Zayn's the best thing ever.
It's just fun, and this is another like kudos to Sami. Like there was a great part of this storyline recently where Roman Reigns like, you want to go back to being a jackass. You want to go back to, and obviously that story, the part with Sami is ended for this story, but it's just like when he was like trying to get him to come back. It's like such a good point. look at what you were doing before. But this match had no reason of being. Like, I remember, like, Johnny Knoxville, what is this, 2002?
Hmm?
They just made it super fun, from Wee Man to the huge
Yeah.
hand to the mousetrap ending. Like,
It's
total
the gimmick battle
nonsense.
royal.
It really is, of this generation. It's total nonsense. Absolutely ridiculous, but such a fun match to watch. Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville. Just like, if you like Crash TV and you just
Yeah.
want to laugh for like 10 minutes, this is a match for you.
The
And
next one
match.
too.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Oh,
Like,
it,
and I
again-
think Shane McMahon only being on this list once, he has had great WrestleMania matches. His one with AJ is probably
yes, the best
know,
match.
the best match, but like, he's like, and I don't even like the crash pad stuff that he got into later. Like, his stuff is fun,
This is, I
especially
think,
this
so,
era.
this, from WrestleMania 17, Vince versus Shane, incredible story. The name of the contract says McMahon, but it says Shane McMahon. The last build to this match, WrestleMania 17 has so many great stories going into it. But the reason I think this match jumps off the page is that, first of all, this is a guy who 7 years earlier didn't think Brett and Owen should fight because brothers don't fight. But yet now 7 years later, not only do families fight, they freaking father and son. But Shane does the coast to coast, which is an incredible spot. Mick Foley's the referee. You have the Linda McMahon rising from the chair, which you don't hear. You might only hear one bigger pop in the entire night that night. And it is Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance. I'm dead serious. If you go back when Linda steps out, goosebumps on my 17-year-old ass, or however old I was, and 16, and then literally, like, it was insane, dude. It was just the whole match is cuckoo bananas. You have Trish making her, turn on Vince, Linda return, boots him, the coast to coast, all the hardcore movements, incredible.
I also always feel like, if it's that moment where like the little kid gets to like run in and like walk around like his dad's work, and that's like Shane McMahon's life. Like, I feel like he, like, if we were like little kids and our dad owned a wrestling ring and you like stepped over the first rope, got into the ring and like looked around, like that's how he felt when he was in the ring, like at all times. He felt like he was just like everything that he did was fun.
Oh yeah, and he always gave it his best. And then unfortunately at the end of his run here in the latter portions of the years, it was just like, okay, Shane isn't special anymore.
No. There was no, like, in the middle there, he was great to have. And the first one where he did a crazy death-defying thing, it was cool.
Oh, yeah,
and then it
he
just
fought
became
Tests, and then he fought, it's so random, Steve Blackman. Yeah, I couldn't tell you that story right now. That's the famous big drop when he fell all the way backwards. He
the
did
Test
an elbow
drop is still one of the greatest moves ever.
Lover or lever match. Lover or lever match. Great story.
Like, when he does it, he goes like ironing board flat and like hits him like.
Yeah, and somehow like, his arms float as he's going down. Yeah. Like, you're gonna break something, dude. But I think right now, if somebody like $1 million, what was the story of Steve Blackman, Shane McMahon?
No idea.
And I'm pretty good
related.
at this.
I have no.
I don't think so. I have no idea. I don't know. I think it was I think it was a SummerSlam as well. But I'm like, what is this match? Why is this match? Final two here for me. We'll get some honorable mentions as well. I had to put her on the list, and I was really trying to find, because Trish. The women, this going back to what we said earlier, there wasn't landmark women's matches like Ivory versus China at 17. No, like
this was it, because they were both good wrestlers at the time.
And this was a great story. Like, the stalker fan who was a wrestler, obsessed with Trish. And I'm going to be honest, the reason this is on here, the reason it came to my head is there's so much. There's the kiss and the V finger lick, like, and the Trish goes for her. What was that called? The dog, like Trish. I don't even know what it's called. Is that? I thought maybe we'll just go with Stratisfaction, where she holds the head of the woman, does like a bulldog, jumps off the ropes, and comes off. We'll just call it that. Where Mickie James, to block it, grabs her vagina.
Yeah, no. This stuff at the time. Like, I didn't see that stuff. I didn't see or realize
nobody saw this stuff, Bill. This was incredible. Mickie James deserves to be promoted, let alone how much heat they got. She talks about this. But think about it. You didn't see anything like this, and this is what makes that match stand out. She does things that are like, and first of all, Mickie James wins the match. So it like all plays into the psychology of it.
And
she was
her
always
faces, by the way. At the time, the best acting in wrestling. Her faces that she made when she would kiss her or stalk her, like they were all overacting. But like when she got like the kiss and like the way she pulled away.
Yeah, in this match, when she blocks the move by grabbing her privates, Trish is legit stunned. It's almost like it seems like they're breaking, like it's like
Mhm.
they're breaking the rules, and then Mickey does the V-lick, which is all out of the network. You have to only find this on like
Mhm.
Daily Motion, and then she ends up beating her. And by the way, also just because, and I have to say it, obviously Trish all timer, also wrestling at this WrestleMania, but Mickey James like outfits back then with like the
Oh.
flowy skirt and like
Lace.
barely anything underneath. Like it was like a weird thing going on at that time, but total credit to her for like totally going all in on this and like allowing yourself to play that character. And like if you hear her in interviews, hear her now, she's like a class act. Like this was like, listen,
Yeah.
this is like we think of these, oh, that's the characters, that must be the person. Like, no, and she's a great wrestler, and we didn't get to see that till later. And
A
but
little
this
bit in
is
this match. They wrestled
oh
in
yeah,
this match.
no, they do a great job, but I mean you didn't like that was not the what stood out to me, I think, as
No,
much for a
it
lot
was
of
the
these reasons.
storytelling.
And
And
it
that,
was so
usually
good.
that's like this one's a little devoid of the storytellings on
Yes.
some of them.
Oh,
Especially
yeah.
like the mid 90s ones didn't have like the most intricate stuff at times. But to we can basically just group them together as my honorable mention and your last one here. Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. I like 25 better. You like 26 better.
And my reason is the story, but because I remember the vibe of watching that match, thinking something is changing tonight. Shawn Michaels is retiring, which I didn't believe, or Undertaker's streak is ending, which I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to believe. I just didn't think Shawn was done. They didn't do all the things that make you feel when someone's career is over. You know, he retired Ric Flair 2 years earlier. Had the I think 25 is the better match.
It's the better match for sure.
And Undertaker's recently talked. It's actually worth your time to go see some of these interviews he's doing recently. When he talks about it, he's like, we knew in the middle of this match, like, how is anything going on after us? And that's pretty incredible. He says, like, I don't think that way. He's like, that's not who I am. But when me and Shawn, he's like, in this point of our careers, we both know exactly how to do this. And we both brought the best out of each other. And he said, he's like, we were laying there. It was like a moment where they're both down. He's like, the crowd just like on there, like, holy cow. And he's like, how is anyone coming on after us? And they had 2 title matches after that. One of them being Randy Orton versus Triple H. That was like fans were leaving during. So both are credit to. I just like the second one because of the stakes. No title. Remember, there's no title either one of these, which is incredible.
Yeah, and it's just a master class, and it's not too long. I think both of them ballpark between like 22 and 26 minutes. I think the 25 one might be a little bit shorter, but just great storytelling back and forth. They're both old. They're like Simmons is old. These 40s. Are old men. These are both pushing 45,
both
like
in
late
their
40s, and like Undertaker might have been real close to 50. So kudos to them for this match. And it's just one of those things that I'll always remember. Great stunts by the Undertaker. He almost dies in one of these because the cameraman doesn't catch him. So it's just a lot of fun. And every time I sit down and watch either one of them, you're just like, damn, these two guys didn't get together enough when they were young. They had the feud that Michaels, broke his back on the
first Hell in a Cell as well.
First Hell in a Cell. And then they have they have a great In Your House match where it's, I think, one of the first times Undertaker does the dive over the top into like a crowd of people.
I think Bruce Pritchard calls it the flying cow.
Yeah, I think that kind of ended in a schmoz, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that was Ground Zero, I believe.
Yeah, they didn't have like a ton of matches when they were like super primed up, but like again,
they had
their second careers almost.
Yeah, and you're right, and it's almost like they both met at the latter portion of their peaks, like the second peaks. Like they both have this like lulls, like I said, like Mark Henry he was fighting 3 years earlier. I know disrespect Mark Henry. It was just like, come on. But they both just put it online. Both, by the way, both currently 57. So at the time, 44.
Yeah.
Same age. Who would have thought they're the same age?
Man, not me.
No, and Undertaker lasted longer, which is even crazier. Just thinking like the body and the travel and the size. But Shawn knew when to get out, except for the fact that they fought each other, remember, in Australia, which we don't really want to talk about. Some people think that was like purposefully bad. But those are wait, you had a couple other just like you wanted to just mention.
Yeah, I can run them down real quick.
Yeah, please.
I had the WrestleMania 2000 TLC match. Then I had Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels. That one again. That's a storytelling one.
That's a great one, and that's another one of those matches which I'm not over the top about the entire match, but that ending is like, yes, perfect. Like I'm sorry, I love you. Boots him in the face, ends his career. Just like I don't know if that could be replicated or who that would be replicated for.
Yeah.
but it's so perfect. And again, credit, and those are two guys that in their peaks, which they weren't in at this point, were both labeled as like the greatest of all time
Mhm.
in ring.
100%. And then I have Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, which I know you're not a fan of.
Wait, WrestleMania 30?
Yeah, just for the moment.
Oh yeah, you know what? Even though I still hate
That's
the
a must
moment.
see.
Yeah, you're right. That is like the definition of this. Even though
Yeah.
I can't put it in my favorite, I absolutely hate it, and it still kind of makes me angry.
And then let's see here. Oh, I did actually make Fully Edge. I think I was like, when I was looking up WrestleMania, I was like, oh, I forgot about this one.
Yeah,
And then AJ Styles, Undertaker. I think that was the first night.
that is such a good call. Yes, it was the technically the main event of night one of WrestleMania 36, the pandemic. Like that's awesome. Like I almost give more credit to AJ Styles because I didn't know he was like we've always known
His
he was
face.
entertaining. He's just so entertaining in this thing.
He's
It's
so
like
great.
he's
I love him.
really, really good. Like so good at this and
Better heel.
better heel, better like kind of like could be like doesn't have to be like a whatever they call it, chicken crap heel, but like he played such a good one in this match and just such an incredible the whole scene and like especially at the end when the Undertaker like buries him and he pulls away first he pulls away the thing that says like AJ Styles on the tombstone,
Mhm.
then drives off. And by the way, Undertaker's last match.
Maybe.
Well, I would assume at this point.
And then the unbelievable match that even made my dad laugh
Oh, God.
way back, WrestleMania 12, Piper Goldust.
Oh,
Just
great
a
call.
brutal match, just hitting people in the face, straight up, bare
Real
knuckle
punches.
box. Real no, yeah. They what do they call that? Stiff.
Yeah,
Wicked stiff.
Piper didn't give a crap. By the way, just a little story on this, if people don't know, or if you don't even know, Bill, supposed to be Razor Ramon in this spot.
Yeah,
It's supposed to
he
be
said no.
Razor versus Goldust. I think he'd given his notice, and before that, they said, "All right, well, you're going to put Goldust over," and they did like Goldust was that androgynous character, and he was like, "Nope,
Nope.
not doing it." So they just said, "Go home. We'll never see you again." And Piper stepped in, who did an incredible job in this match. But the best part,
They cut to the footage of the OJ Bronco.
think about that. This is WrestleMania, the
12.
biggest event, 12, biggest event. You have all the hype circumstance, midst of this. So this match really like starts at one point, it's like segments at one point, segments at another point, and half of it is the Bronco chase. And Jerry Lawler's like, I think I've seen this before. I think I've seen this footage.
Unbelievable.
It's so ridiculous. How they got away with this too, I don't know.
It was news footage, so you could probably run it.
I guess it was incredible. And then they come back and Goldust gets stripped. I remember even as a kid, I was uncomfortable by this. He was wearing like lingerie.
Yeah,
under
this was
his-
like way over my head. I was literally 12. Like every
Yeah.
year that WrestleMania is the age that I am. So I was 12 years old when this happened, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it was.
I was still playing with like
Weird.
fucking toys.
Oh yeah, I was like wrestling with figures in front of the TV while this was on, and I remember just looking like, "What is this? What is this man wearing? What is happening?" Like, it was very strange, but a perfect example of like a must watch because it's just so entertaining. I just don't know how to tell you how to watch it because it's in like 8 segments, and 2 of them are freaking O.J. Simpson Bronco chases.
It's a good WrestleMania. Check it out.
Wait, WrestleMania 12 is a good WrestleMania?
Yeah, it's got the Iron Man. It's got
Yeah, exactly. It's not a good WrestleMania.
Yeah,
You got Savio. Okay, let me see if I got this. Savio Vega versus Stone Cold.
Yep.
Obviously backlot brawl with them.
Maybe I'm confusing this with 10. This didn't have
12's
Crush
crap.
and
No,
Okay.
yeah, 10 is much better. You was kind of crapping on 10. 12 is a horror show. And realistically, I love the Iron Man match. It's really hard to watch again. Watch the last 15 minutes. It's excellent. It's a hard hour to watch because there's nothing that happens.
well, yeah, it's an
And the
hour
poor
long.
crowd. I think there's also 11 starts with Luger and Bulldog versus the Blues Brothers or whatever they were.
Oh, that's
There's some. If you go back to that, 11 might be the worst WrestleMania.
so we should do for our next list
Just-
worst WrestleMania matches.
Oh, dude, this is like fun because it's the worst. I could probably go on forever, but there is some like there's worse. Like the early WrestleManias are some crappy matches, but like purposefully, like think about that: Eli and Jacob Blue versus Lex Luger and the British Bulldog.
And until
Open.
recently, the Usos hadn't had a WrestleMania match.
Yeah, how many matches have they even had at WrestleMania? Now that I think about it.
2,
3.
2 or 3 up
One
until
of
like
them, only one of them fought. Remember, 36. So that doesn't
Yeah.
really count.
yeah. So literally maybe 2 or 3.
Had a horrible one at 35 where there was just 80 men in there. I can't like they have no like landmark ones. This one they're gonna There's rumors they were going to main event this one. Not going to happen. They're going to face Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. But that kind of segues us. We'll wrap up this. Go watch some WrestleMania matches. WrestleMania, obviously, there's so much here. Tell us your favorites. Share them with us on Twitter, on Instagram, but Billy at Billy D2411.
Billy underscore D2411.
And then Billy, what are you on Twitter?
Billy 2411 everywhere else. Billy underscore D2411 on Twitter.
By the way, Dana Barros says hello. He's a great guy.
Oh, he's the man.
Very nice. But yeah, let us know some of your favorites. Next week, we'll preview it. The Showcase of the Immortals. It's coming up. WrestleMania 39, 2 nights. The matches, the card doesn't seem overly stacked, which is like it's stacked in a good way, but doesn't feel like it's overly booked and doesn't feel like it's one of those like, oh, there's way too much going on. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I looked at it. Unless they had a ton, it seems like it's a pretty spaced out 2 nights.
Yeah, right now I think there's only 9 matches announced. And let's say they announce 11 out of 2 nights. That's
and I knew mostly everybody and kind of the feuds for all of them. So I was way more excited than I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to look and be like, I don't really know what's going on, but it seems like I kind of am somewhat with my finger in the pulse here.
There you go. It'll take a couple YouTube watches and you'll be like, oh, I'm up to speed. But yeah, we'll do that next week. Bill, anything else before you do your little sign off, but anything else you wanted to mention aside from
we might have a special guest, so stay tuned for that.
Like that.
Won't name drop, but it'll be like the Hogan third man.
Oh, so somebody's coming, but who will it be? And is there even somebody? That was the best part about that Bash in the Beach. Like, who's the third man? Is there even a third man?
Fucking Bobby Heenan's worst line ever.
Oh, and then he's like, who's he with? It really is so funny because it makes sense because a commentator would technically say that because you're just like, is there an element? But like the fact that he said it. But even me as a kid, I didn't think that. I remember watching that being like, holy crap, Hogan, go get him.
Yeah.
And then he like dropped poor Macho.
What do you mean? Whose side is he on?
Yeah. Yeah. They were like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm being real. Anyways, that'll do it for us. Appreciate you all very much. Have yourself, treat each other well. Say something nice about a friend. Give somebody a call. And Bill, any final words for our fine folks?
Slap it on the biscuit.
Frank says hi.